Today's topic came by the way of an email from a listener. We're going to be talking about Rachel Nichols, another sports journalist who I used to like and respect, a career that I once respected. Rachel Nichols used to be an actual sports journalist. She used to be a great NBA reporter. She was an NBA reporter that used to talk about, NBA basketball. The last year or so, Rachel Nichols has jumped aboard the woke train known as ESPN. She jumped on the equality train. Oh, she just loves the new woke NBA. She obviously has nothing but admiration for the leader of the woke NBA, LeBron James. How do I know this? Well, just a simple observation. Let's pretend for a minute that I'm an NBA reporter. News has just broken that Michael Jordan is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I am the one who gets the honor to interview him. He's given very few interviews since he retired from the NBA. He's just been honored with the Hall of Fame induction. Going into the interview, I'm going to structure my questions so everything is about the career of Michael Jordan. Perhaps I ask him about the food poisoning game against the Utah Jazz in the '98 finals, the game-winning shot he hit in Cleveland during the first round of the playoffs back in the late '80s, his relationship over the years with Phil Jackson, Scottie Pippen. My point is, my interview is going to be all about the greatness of Michael Jordan. What I'm not going to do is ask him about the greatness of Kobe Bryant. I'm not going to ask him about something he said to Kobe during the '98 All-Star game about Kobe being the next leader, the next face of the NBA. It was recently announced that Tim Duncan is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. You could argue that Tim Duncan is the greatest power forward in the history of the NBA. He wasn't my favorite player. I thought he was kind of boring to watch. He was never a flashy type player, never a trash talker. He played his game, played it better than anyone in the NBA, won his championships, and he went about his business. That's the type of guy Tim Duncan was. He was the perfect fit for Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs. Pop is all about team. No one player is higher on the totem pole than another. Everyone is on equal footing. I'm not taking anything away from Tim Duncan's greatness. The San Antonio Spurs are one of the greatest dynasties in the history of professional sports. The Spurs made the playoffs 22 years in a row. Tim Duncan was a major part of that. He made the playoffs every year of his NBA career. That is unprecedented. That is one hell of an accomplishment. Tim Duncan and the Spurs don't get the credit I think they deserve because they're not flashy. They're not braggadocious. I don't want to say that I wasn't a fan of Tim Duncan. I've got a lot of respect for him, but because of how reserved and quiet he is, and just his style, I just found him to be boring. That's just my personal opinion. And that's fine. It worked for him, obviously. He had a Hall of Fame career. Tim Duncan is not interviewed very often. But because of the Hall of Fame announcement, he decides to give an interview to ESPN and Rachel Nichols. Like the example I laid out a second ago, the segment should be all about the greatness of Tim Duncan. This is his time to shine. Out of all the things Rachel Nichols could have asked him about throughout his 20-year career, the playoff runs, never missing the playoffs, the championships, relationship with Greg Popovich, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Rachel Nichols asked Tim Duncan about the 2007 NBA Finals. After the final game of that series when the Spurs beat the Cavs, he told LeBron James that one day the NBA is going to be his league and that he appreciated LeBron giving him one more year. Rachel Nichols asked Tim Duncan what that was like, what that moment was like, talking about LeBron's greatness or his future greatness. I don't understand the question. I mean, what do you mean, what was it like? It was a simple comment. I don't know how the hell Rachel Nichols even remembers that comment 14 years later. Look, to be fair, Rachel Nichols spent most of the interview focusing on Tim Duncan. She did. My thing is, though, what in the hell does LeBron James have to do with Tim Duncan? It's not like they were rivals throughout their NBA careers. I mean, sure, they met in the finals a couple of times. I wouldn't call it a rivalry, though. When I think of Tim Duncan, my mind doesn't automatically associate him with LeBron James, like it does when I think of Michael Jordan. I automatically think the Knicks, or Reggie Miller, or the Pistons, Isaiah Thomas. Fans of Tim Duncan erupted on Twitter after this interview aired. Most were pissed off that Rachel Nichols was actually taking some of the spotlight off of the career of Tim Duncan and putting the spotlight on LeBron James, who already stays in the spotlight 24/7. Now, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even bring this to your attention if it weren't for the fact that I feel like this is yet another example, another attempt by ESPN to shove woke LeBron James down our throats. They could be talking about NHL hockey on ESPN, and someone is going to figure out a way to insert LeBron James into the conversation. Rachel Nichols has made no secret about her admiration for LeBron James. I mean, she's just as woke as he is, as well as the rest of the NBA. She actually was a bit critical of the NBA last year for not being woke enough. That's hard to believe, I know. You can't get much more woke than the NBA, unless you're looking at the league through the eyes of Rachel Nichols. Last September, when Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away, Rachel Nichols called out the NBA for not honoring her. Here's her exact tweet, quote, "Why wasn't Ruth Bader Ginsburg honored by the NBA this weekend? In a league that absolutely holds equality as a core value, the icons of that equality can't only include those who help the men we see on TV, but those who paved the way for the women who work right alongside them," end quote. I'll tell you why the NBA didn't honor Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Because they don't give a damn about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That's the truth. See, here's the thing when it comes to wokers and woke politics. It only works, they only honor you or talk about you when it fits their agenda. LeBron James and the NBA, they're all about equality in regards to African Americans. They're all about police brutality, bringing attention to that and awareness to it. When it comes to a white cop killing a black man, they're all about ending racism when it's happening in America, or supposedly happening in America. I really believe America, for the most part, is not a racist country. But the NBA doesn't give a damn about the racism in China, just like they don't give a damn when a pioneer of women's rights, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, passes away. They don't care. This is the problem with the NBA embracing social justice and woke politics. And this is the very reason that I have pounded this point on this channel for the last year. Sports should stay the hell out of politics. This is the reason why. You can't please everybody. You are never going to win. Politics by design is divisive. Politics are meant to keep people divided. There is no right way for the NBA to embrace politics and promote social justice. You just can't do it. There's only the wrong way, which clearly is what they're doing. Rachel Nichols has been vocal about her support of the NBA embracing politics. Back in 2017, she did an interview with Slate, and she was actually asked about the NBA becoming more political. And back in 2017, they're not nearly as political as they are today. Now, she, of course, praised LeBron James for leading the charge in this movement. But I found her reasoning for supporting the infusion of politics in sports pretty interesting. She made the case that sports is the only place we have left where people actually come together, where people from all walks of life come together. She cited church attendance being down. She cited how people have so many options for entertainment that it no longer brings the bulk of society together like it did in the past. But sports still brings everybody together. And she's right. She is absolutely right about that. My thing is, though, why would you want to ruin the last thing we have left in this country that brings people from all religions, all races, all walks of life together by poisoning it with woke politics? It just doesn't make any sense. She was also asked about how comfortable she is expressing her own political opinion on television. Rachel Nichols said that there is a huge distinction between commenting on social issues and politics. What would be the difference between social issues and politics? I'm pretty sure that's the same thing. I don't want to hear Rachel Nichols' opinion on social issues. I want to hear her reporting about the NBA. I mean, she's really good at reporting on the NBA. I don't give a damn about her opinion. She's a journalist. She's supposed to be telling me what's going on behind the scenes. That's her job. That's what journalism used to be about. That's no longer the case. To me, the sheen started to wear off of Rachel Nichols about 5 years ago. She'd been riding high up to that point. She did a great interview with Floyd Mayweather where she probed him on his domestic violence issues. She wasn't afraid to bring it up. She also went toe-to-toe with Roger Goodell on the Ray Rice situation. She was absolutely great in both of those situations. She was being a real journalist. She was doing her job. Then you fast forward to 2016. She had NBA insider Brian Windhorst on The Jump on ESPN, the show she hosts. Something was brought up about LeBron James following Rachel Nichols on Twitter or Instagram, but he doesn't follow Brian Windhorst. Now, me personally, I would take that as a compliment, like a badge of honor if LeBron James didn't follow me on social media, which he doesn't, but I digress. Anyway, Brian Windhorst responds jokingly that LeBron James was just following Rachel Nichols so he could slide into her DMs. He was obviously kidding. It was a joke. He was laughing when he said it. Should have been no big deal. But Rachel Nichols goes full-blown feminist on him. She says that is not true and not something you should say on television. Will you take that back, please? She then tries to throw a little slight jab at Brian Windhorst later on, saying he only said that because he doesn't know what sliding into your DMs means. It's just another small example of wokers spinning something into a negative. We talked about this yesterday. It's always something negative with these wokers. Rachel Nichols takes a harmless joke. Brian Windhorst didn't mean anything by that. And she turns it into something sexist. I'm about to give you an example, though, of how the joking doesn't work both ways. How it's perfectly fine for Rachel Nichols to throw jabs at a man, but when a man does it to her, it's considered sexist. She had an interview with Michael B. Jordan a couple of months ago, the son of Michael Jordan. In case you didn't know, Michael B. Jordan has actually had a pretty good acting career. He's on ESPN a couple of months ago to promote an upcoming film. I think it was coming on Netflix or Hulu, one of the streaming services. The very first comment from Rachel Nichols as the interview begins is making a jab at him for playing basketball in high school at an art school. He was the star of the team. She asked him if he was actually any good. Was the team any good? Or did he just paint or act his way through the game? He responded by asking if that was like a slight jab towards him. And Rachel Nichols said, no, it's a direct jab. Look, I don't care about this. I think it's fine. My problem with it is, it doesn't work both ways. Imagine if a man was interviewing Rachel Nichols and threw a direct jab at her. She would turn it into the cancel culture brigade. He only said that to me because I'm a woman. Just like she did with Brian Windhorst and that whole situation. It's hypocrisy. It is hypocrisy. Just like everything that the NBA stands for. Hypocrisy. And that's the biggest problem I have with the wokers in general. They want to set rules for you and I to follow. But they don't want to follow those same sets of rules themselves. The guidelines are okay for us, but they're going to follow their own set of rules and tell you what to do at the same time. Anyway, Tired of talking about Rachel Nichols. I don't watch her anymore. I don't watch ESPN anymore. I only brought all of this up today because it was requested by a listener, and I figured I would give you my opinion on the subject. I did think it was interesting, though, how much flack Rachel Nichols took on Twitter over the Tim Duncan interview. It just goes to show you that even woke Twitter will turn on their own woke counterparts. So let me know what you think. What do you think of Rachel Nichols bringing up LeBron James in an interview that is supposed to honor Tim Duncan's legendary NBA career? Was the criticism that she received on Twitter, was it justified, or do you think it was a bit overblown? Also, let me know what you think about Rachel Nichols in general. I used to like her, used to respect her, but like everything else on ESPN, the woke politics has changed my opinion of Rachel Nichols. What about you? Let me know what you think. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.